Hi muckers, welcome back to my YouTube channel. So this was very requested and sent to my mods yesterday for me to look into. So Ruby Franke's husband is coming forward and is saying that he believes his son about the claims against YouTube mom from the attorney. So this 8-passenger situation is just getting worse and worse and worse. The more legal is getting involved, the more court is getting involved, the more Kevin Franke, the estranged husband, is getting involved. I want to watch this and figure out what is going on. I'm vlogging over my second channel. It'll be pinned down below if you want to go and watch it. But let's figure out what the damn hell is going on. So this is on Law and Crime Network. All right, let's go through this together.
Once known as the father and husband in the 8 Passengers YouTube series, Kevin Franke's attorney now says the father of 6 is fighting for custody of his children.
There's a lot to be told. There's a lot of chapters in this.
This is the attorney, not the father.
Law and Crime Network crews traveled to Provo, Utah this week to sit down with Kevin Franke's attorney, Randy Kester. He says his client had no idea his children were being abused and instead points the finger at Jody Hildebrandt, alleging she brainwashed the entire family.
That once she got involved in their lives, it just destroyed his family.
Can I argue something? If you didn't know your kids were being abused, then you weren't that involved in their life, which is contradictory considering you were in most of the vlogs, which goes to show that you shouldn't have custody. Like, you're saying you didn't know they were being abused, but you were a part of the YouTube videos and so you don't deserve custody. Randy Kester, attorney for Kevin Franke.
It did. And he's now trying to recover from that and put it back together.
He's trying to recover, or the kids are?
In recent days, Kevin Franke has stopped speaking with his estranged wife, Ruby, after she dropped bombshell news on him during a jailhouse phone call.
He hasn't spoken to Ruby for about 2 weeks now.
So he did speak with her after her arrest, it sounds like then.
He spoke with her, I think there are reports out there actually. He spoke with her a week ago Friday, and that was when he started to realize...
He was just like, I think there's reports out there about this. Well, what's the truth? You don't need to tell us what the public knows. What do you know?
A broad perspective of the deception that he'd been fed, and in that discussion,
deception, he was a part of it, allegedly.
That he should have been told, he should have been involved, and after the phone call, he just decided that he'd been deceived and hasn't had contact with her since.
In fact,
well, she's in fucking prison. Of course you don't.
Kevin Franke hasn't even discussed the abuse allegations with his wife.
His backing off from communication with Ruby was because he felt betrayed, he felt deceived, and so he didn't feel like that it would merit any further consultation and discussion between them. But I don't know, he may be following the proceedings, but they're pretty inaccessible. Neither one of us have been willing to drive 250 miles just to go to a short hearing, and it's my understanding that the WebEx links have crashed, and so
what the fuck is he talking about?
I just gather information and give it to him about what's going on.
Yeah, that's fair. As far as what Ruby has said to Kevin, has she denied these allegations and said it didn't happen?
That is crazy. He was like, me nor Kevin are going to drive out all this way just for a short hearing. The short hearing has to do with your children being abused. So, I mean, like Chatter saying, I would be fucking flying out to wherever it is. You don't care because it's a short hearing? The short hearing is about your children being abused. So, you clearly don't care enough, so you shouldn't get custody.
They have not had that conversation.
Is there
You better stop smiling.
I think because it's pretty apparent to Kevin from the reports that it did happen, he believes his son and the reports that his son has given to law enforcement and others.
Late last month, Frankie's 12-year-old son broke free from Jody Hildebrandt's home in Ivins, Utah, about 250 miles south of this family home in Springville, Utah. The boy ran to a nearby neighbor's home asking for food and water. Investigators found him emaciated with duct tape around his wrists and ankles.
This kid has obviously been...
The 911 call.
He's been detained. He's obviously covered in wounds.
According to Kester, Kevin Franke had no idea what was going on with his children and hadn't even spoken to them in months.
He was shocked, devastated, hurt, felt deceived, didn't know any of that was going on.
Okay, but like, it's the picture is being painted here, regardless of how much we're gonna put on Jody or Ruby, that he was very uninvolved. He shouldn't just now be involved. You know what I mean? It's like, are they trying to make us sympathetic towards him because they're telling us that he was like uninvolved? Like, you were a part of the vlogging days, which is a big issue. What the
going on? He hadn't seen his kids for 12 months or more, and didn't know that they were even in Ivins in southern Utah. He didn't even know that they'd been taken down there.
Okay, he sounds like a great candidate for custody. You're really selling it to us.
She didn't tell him, and apparently took the kids down there even as early as June, and he knew nothing about it.
Kester alleges that Kevin hadn't seen his children in more than a year, all at the instance of his wife, Ruby Franke.
Kevin very much loved his children and loved his wife.
But I'm confused. All the other members of the family were saying, we knew that there was an issue, but we weren't able to do anything, or we couldn't do enough, or whatever. He's saying that he didn't know there was an issue. Okay, so why did every other member of the family know that there were issues, but the dad didn't? That sounds like neglectful. So don't give, like...
Had a strong bond, an exceptionally strong bond with all of his kids. You've seen pictures of their family together. He was involved in all sorts of activities.
This lawyer just said he was really close with his kids. You've all seen the photos where he's standing with his kids. So he's now just said he actually has a strong bond with his kids, but he did just say that he didn't see the kids for a year, and he didn't know that they were being abused. So, quick, which is it?
He was a great dad.
People are loving this. Like, this has like 7,000 likes, only 300 dislikes. Are we being over dramatic here, or does this timeline, story, whatever, just not really make sense? Because why is the general public loving and eating this up, but for some reason us little bitches over here aren't? Are we reading too much into it or whatever? It doesn't paint him in a good light to me.
But Ruby felt like there were differences in their marriage, and at one point, in conjunction with Jody Hildebrand,
Fuck ass picture.
We have to separate to save our marriage. You know, we'll keep working on our marriage, but for now, you know, if we're gonna repair our marriage and be back together as a family,
Fuck ass smile.
you have to be away, and you have to work on yourself, and don't have contact with the kids. Don't have contact with me unless I initiate it.
Last month, both Ruby Franke
Not
and Hildebrand were arrested
anymore, are
and
we,
charged with
woman?
6 counts of
Not
aggravated
anymore.
child abuse. Right now, they're being held in the Washington County Jail in southern Utah without bail. But before her arrest, Ruby and the Franke family...
Wait, sorry, I just completely missed that. He's talking about the marriage, and the marriage seems to be a big issue, like trying to get back, but Jody got in. You're literally being told that your wife was abusing your kids, and you're like, but let's fix the marriage first. Please don't give him custody of the kids!
Are already known the world over for their popular YouTube channel, 8 Passengers. The series documented the lives of the Franke family, including Ruby, Kevin, and their 6 children.
Eve has been
Fucking Von Trapp family.
amazingly well behaved for being in town
But
for
you
like...
yelled at me.
Shh! The fact that I yell at my kids is a secret. We don't want our viewers to know.
Once boasting more than 2 million followers, the YouTube
That was an
page is now
included
defunct.
clip, by the way.
Kester says the family hasn't created
fuck ass?
content for the channel in more than a year.
I don't think anything's been posted on that for pretty close to a year and a half. I think January, February of 21, maybe August of 21 is the last time anyone posted anything on there.
Is there a reason that they stopped creating content with the 8 Passengers channel so long ago?
I think that Jody and Ruby sort of just pirated off that and moved into this Connections entity.
After Ruby Frankie's YouTube channel had already taken off, she paired with business partner
Jody.
Jody Hildebrand to create new content, offering counseling services for families in need. They called their organization Connections.
Anytime you think I want, fill in the blank, I don't care what it is.
Every answer he's giving, he's going like, maybe this. I think it's around this. Between this to this. Out of all of us, you're the one that should know. Out of all of the, like...
That is not love. Love is a gift that you offer because you have generated it inside yourself. And how do you generate love? Well, the only way to generate love is you use your agency to choose principles of truth.
Kester says he's not even sure how to describe the relationship between Hildebrand and Ruby Frankie.
So we know that they're business partners, but would it be fair to say that Ruby and Jody are friends?
I don't know. I don't know how to characterize that. I know they did a lot of work together and would often go off together. While Kevin took care of the kids, they would leave and go for days at a time.
Well, Kevin looked after the kids. Bitch, you told us he hasn't seen the kids for like over a year. I'm so confused.
And while Kevin was taking care of the family.
I don't know. Great job, lawyer.
Yeah. Until the separation, and then, of course, he was excluded from all that.
When first responders arrived to Hildebrandt's home last month, they determined 2 of the Frankie children required immediate medical attention. In all, 4 of the 6 children were taken into the care of the Division of Children and Family Services. Right now, Kester isn't sure where the kids are being held and says Kevin Frankie does not have any contact with them.
I don't know exactly.
Okay, so let's get this clear. He still does not even know where the kids are, nor has seen them, but is trying to get custody. Like, maybe that's for the best.
Where they are geographically, but the state has foster care placement. They have their own placement at secure facilities, and and I can't comment about where they are, but they are in.
Well, you're not fucking commenting on anything else, so it's to be expected, I guess.
The state's custody within the state of Utah.
He does know it's his client's ultimate.
My mom said, I wonder will the kids get any say in where they go? Do the family members that are involved in this get any say? I don't
gain complete custody of his children.
And does your client have contact with any of his children who are under the age of 18?
Not yet.
Is he hoping for that contact?
Oh, absolutely. That's his ultimate objective, is to be able to have custody of them and to be with them and to guide them and be.
I'm sure.
And to bring his family back together. That is his sole objective at this point.
But didn't he say that he also wants to bring his marriage back together, by the way, with the woman who did this? Okay.
Kester says Ruby Frankie called her estranged husband, telling him it was an emergency.
She was working, and she pretty much just said, this is an emergency. Because when she first contacted him, I think it was a text, may have been a phone call, and he responded and said, I'm at work, I need to get back to you. And she essentially said, this is an emergency, I need you to come get the kids. So he, of course, tore down there, not knowing any of the details of all this that was going on till he got there.
When Kevin Frankie arrived in southern Utah, he wasn't allowed to see his children.
Was he able to see the kids when he was there?
No.
And is that law enforcement?
What an ugly house.
Yes. Law enforcement and state agents. Yeah, the children.
Putting up the barrier?
That was going on till he got there.
When Kevin Frankie
What
arrived
is
in
the
southern
laughing
Utah,
for?
he wasn't allowed to see his children.
Was he able to see the kids when he was there?
No.
And is that law enforcement was kind of putting up the barrier?
Yes.
Okay, I'm going to be honest. I don't know what is funny about that. You're just saying that your client was refused to see his kids by the police, and you go, yeah.
Enforcement and state agents. Yeah, the children had already, two of the children, as everyone knows, had already been taken to the hospital. So
And that's what you want to laugh at?
Taking his kids home.
And is that in relation to the Child Protective Services or the Division of Children and Family Services because they wanted to make sure that no one was...
I understand nervous laughter. I'm just saying that's weird.
I don't think at that point anyone knew that Kevin wasn't involved in the physical abuse of these kids. And so just out of an abundance of caution, it's my impression that while they did their investigation...
I mean, severe neglect is also can be a form of abuse as well, allowing this to happen to them whenever he's getting... All the others member of the family are saying that it's happening, but apparently he doesn't know it's happening. How uninvolved are you? Like, the internet knows it, the family members know it, the eldest children know it, but of course you're the only one that didn't know about it.
Had no idea his children were in trouble.
And some critics are saying, how could you not know? How could you spend this much time without speaking to your kids? What does he have to say about that?
He was following the advice of who he thought was a professional mental health expert, telling him to stay away. The only way to save his family was to stay apart from his family at that point. While he thought they were...
So then maybe he should continue to stay away from them.
Reconciliation. He had no idea that there was this kind of abuse going on.
I mean, if you're willing to completely hand over control of your children to them, maybe you don't care enough. Like, you know what I mean? It's like time and place kind of thing.
That everything was blissful and everything was wonderful. That
Even the internet didn't think that.
She didn't tell him that she had taken the kids to southern Utah to be in Jody's home.
Also, you just told us a couple minutes ago that you and him do not want to make the long travel to a short court hearing about this. So, like, how much do you both care?
Resisted that, but she didn't tell him. He was being advised by his mental health care professional to stay away from the family and not contact the kids.
Kester does say before his wife's arrest, Kevin Franke received counseling from Hildebrand.
During the separation, Kevin was attending men's groups that were facilitated by Jody, and during those groups, he was being downgraded and diminished and told how bad he was and that he needed to repent, and that the best way to repent was to not infect his family with his problems, and so that's why you need to stay away. He wasn't the only one in those men's groups that was undergoing exactly what he was undergoing at her suggestion and recommendation.
Just so I get a better idea of what these men groups are, would that be, I mean, what would that entail? They're going to like a group and kind of talking about things? Who are the people who are kind of like laying down the law, so to speak?
Jody. And they were Zoom meetings. I don't think they ever met together personally, even though maybe a sponsor of someone would meet personally, but sporadically.
Kester says because of this counseling, Kevin Franke...
Seriously, when is her mouth closed?
They were working toward reconciliation. There was no separate maintenance documents. There was no divorce filed because...
Okay, so what you're saying is he was aware of what she was doing to the kids longer than you wanted to let us know because he wanted to work on the marriage? What is it?
He was being led to believe they were working toward reconciliation. He wanted to be back with his family. He wanted to be back with his wife, but was being told by Jody and by Ruby that in order to repair all this, you need to stay away. And was being told that, hey, with you away, everything's blissful. The kids are doing well. Everything's just great.
Okay, but if he is saying that Jody was being very abusive towards him, why did he have no problem handing over full control of his children to Jody if he had an issue with her to start with?
On Monday, both Ruby Franke and Hildebrand were set to appear in Washington County Court for a status hearing discussing bail. Law and Crime Network was at the courthouse when attorneys filed a motion to delay the hearing. Kester tells us the hearing was pushed because attorneys received new and crucial information from law enforcement, but couldn't give us the specifics. He also says his client isn't quite ready to speak publicly.
And when you and I had texted
Are you ready to speak publicly?
previously, I asked whether Kevin wants to speak, and your reply was interesting to me in that you said Kevin does want to speak, just not now.
Correct.
So, if not now, when?
When the dust has kind of settled, he just doesn't want to jeopardize. He doesn't want to say something because we've committed to the court. We're not going to disparage any of the family. And Kevin's gone above and beyond that. He's not only not disparaged anyone, he's reaching out to try to bring this family closer together. And
At a certain stage, you've got to realize that members of that family were abusing your kids. Call a spade a spade. Jesus Christ, you don't want to throw any of the members of the family under the bus? Maybe you should.
kind of heal wounds. And so in terms of him speaking out, I think he wants to accomplish the objective that he wants to get his family back together. But
God, there's so many children.
He'll want to tell the whole story. I just don't think this is a time to declare war. And
this is not the time to declare war. When is it? You just found out your kids were being abused.
Bad things have happened to this family, and he values his family and he values his children above all. And he's committed to doing whatever it takes, even if it's him remaining silent. He's committed to doing that in order to make the future better for his children.
Meanwhile, Kevin Franke is fighting for custody of his children through a series of juvenile hearings in north central Utah. Kester tells us those hearings may not remain public for long.
It's pretty much just scheduling. The court is taking under advisement a motion to seal the proceedings and to restrict certain people from the courtroom, and probably a pretty broad swath of people.
I assume we're talking about the media here.
Privacy and confidentiality of the things that we're discussing involving the children, because they have a right to have their privacy needs met, and I think it's a good thing.
As Law and Crime Network reported, shocking allegations came out of a previous juvenile hearing when Ruby Franke appeared virtually. She claimed one of her children started having problems at age 3 when they began looking at pornography. While Franke didn't mention the child by name, she alleged her child sexually assaulted one of their younger siblings, which led to that child sexually assaulting other kids. Kester says...
But keep in mind, she also didn't allow them to leave, like, their bedrooms. Or allowed to fucking do anything without her permission, so...
client would prefer if future hearings are closed off.
He thinks that it serves his kids' best interest to give them as little of publicity.
Yeah, so the kids weren't allowed to eat like a rice cracker at age 3, but apparently they were allowed to go online and find porn.
As possible. I think it was very damaging the last time when the reporter snuck into the courtroom and then divulged very, very confidential and information that Mrs. Franke stated about one of their children, and I just think that was damaging to everyone. It was especially damaging to the child. So I think that's the kind of thing the courts...
Yeah, so who's being damaged here and who's going through it? The children, not your fucking client, so grow up.
Because it's involving his son in a very confidential matter, I shouldn't comment about that. I shouldn't comment about my client's belief about that.
Meanwhile, Kester doubles down, saying the entire Franke family was brainwashed at the hand of Jody Hildebrandt.
It's a very delicate situation. These kids have been...
Okay, sure, but can we also all take some responsibility too?
It's scary.
Brainwashed by who?
Jody.
Do you believe that Ruby was brainwashed by Jody?
Yes. And I say that because everyone, the focus has been on Kevin. Where was he? Why was he absent? How does that all happen? So he was doing that at Ruby's direction, who I think was being directed.
It's a good comment. Someone wrote,
that you've got to repair your marriage and repair
your
family.
client co-signed exploiting his kids on YouTube, Your Honor.
This is just my opinion by Jody. And I think she knew what she was doing, and it was causing significant damage. And so when Kevin's critics are out there saying...
Kevin's critics? This isn't a game of like who's loved in public perception. We're talking about kids being abused here. Grow up.
He was acting at the direction of what he thought was a competent mental health care
Kevin's
provider,
critics.
advisor.
Give me a
And
fucking break.
To me, the better question is, what kind of mental health care provider would advise a family and a husband and wife and a husband and children, or a father and children, that this can repair your family if you just stay away from each other? And I'm confident that she told that to Ruby. I'm confident that the children are being told that, and Kevin was certainly being told that I know what I'm doing, you need to stay away.
Do you believe that Kevin was brainwashed as well?
I do.
But you said that he literally left instead of being involved. So by that logic, he left before he could get brainwashed. You said he wasn't a part of it. You said he was gone for a year and didn't see the kids and wasn't around Jody or anything other than whenever he was in her like men's class, and then he left after that. So how can he be abused by it? Listen, you can, but the problem I have here is if Kevin Franke was brainwashed by Jody, that is not the same level that the kids would have been brainwashed or the kids would have been abused. So stop trying to like one up the kids here. Was he brainwashed, Kevin? Possibly. But your story you said of him not being involved, it's like you're constantly trying to take things away from the kids and also victimize Kevin a lot.
I do. He's a bright guy, but he was desperate to save his family.
Did he say he's my guy?
He loved his kids. He loved his wife. And he was desperate to have that come back together. But it was Jody's intervention that prevented that. And it was manipulating.
Or the abuse of the kids, maybe?
Yes, you know, if you just overcome your greed and your selfishness and your narcissism, you will get your family back together. But you got to stay away and you got to repent.
He said he's a bright guy or a good guy. Okay.
And so he was following, again, what he thought was expert advice, and that's why he was so distraught and felt deceived and disappointed and frightened when this all came out.
Kester says it was Hildebrandt's involvement that unraveled the Franke family.
It's a lot I want to tell you, but probably shouldn't at this point because it's kind of delicate between the state and him trying to get his kids back.
Jesus Christ. What was that? I'm sorry. And again, maybe we're out of line because apparently everyone is loving that. What are the comments? I mean, 7,000 likes. A loving dad does not. Oh, okay. Never mind. We're on the right side of history, guys. All three adults are responsible for what happened to the children. Ignorance is not an excuse. A loving dad does not abandon his children for a year, even if it means losing his marriage. I feel sorry for the kids. All right. Kevin, you were there when your son was getting sent to wilderness camp. You were there when food was getting removed from the pantry. You were there when dishes were reduced to 1 cup each for each person. You were there whenever Ruby didn't allow extra food in the house. This infuriates me. I'm disgusted by these people. No, the dad should not get custody. Take those children away from all of them. A dad that has a strong bond with his kid doesn't abandon them for over a year. All right. Well, maybe people just aren't like disliking the video, but apparently. So shout out to the comment section. Listen, if this is the way this attorney and lawyer is going to speak, maybe he shouldn't be going on fucking interviews and stuff because he's really not doing a fucking good job with peace and love. The fact is, like, we still don't know where the kids are. I don't care about Kevin Franke. I don't care about Jody. I don't care about Ruby. I care about the kids, and I hope they're doing good. Jesus Christ. We'll leave it there.